All right, so let's go ahead and get started so we can make sure everyone's time here is being used effectively. So for everyone here, thank you for joining us for the monthly ramp up presented to you by Franchise Ramp. My name is Brandon Dixon. I'm one of your account managers here, and I'm super excited for the latest edition of this webinar series that includes a mix of in the trenches knowledge and high level strategy, along with a featured interview. YogaSix franchisee, Ron Massa, who will be sharing his franchisee story, and our awesome franchisee success manager, Cy Anderson, will conduct the interview. Before we get to hear from Cy and Ron, I'll be doing a deep dive into how short form video is changing social media and how we as your advertising agency are adapting. Don't forget, if you do have any questions as I'm talking, please feel free to use the chat function, and we'll be sure to address those at the end of the webinar. So we'll go ahead and get started. So as I mentioned previously, I'll be talking about the importance of tailoring your creative placements and how you can do it and some tips and tricks to go along with that. So before we start, I do want to start with a quote that is from the CFO's Facebook that they shared on their most recent quarterly meeting. And the quote is, "On the impression side, we expect continued headwinds from both increased competition for people's time and the shift of engagement within our apps towards video services like Reels, which monetize at lower rates than feed and stories." So the reason I bring this up is because we're at a really pivotal place in marketing where the short form video content has had everyone's interest. To be honest, they are quite addicting. I'm sure all of us can attest to whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, of telling ourselves, hey, we're going to sit here for 10 minutes and go through videos. And then next thing we look up and 30 minutes to an hour has gone by. Kind of segueing into where we're at right now in marketing is the past probably 3 years, the most popular placements have been news feeds, your stories, Reels, and video feeds. Now, the reason I put Reels in front of video feeds from a marketing standpoint is because organically, Reels have, like I said, been the craze for everyone. So a lot of people are having great organic success, even better than paid marketing if you were to put it on a video feed. Now, how do I see this can change? As you saw, Facebook, who is the titan of social media really, is looking to promote everyone to Reels and short form videos. So what I could see happening is Reels becoming first, stories becoming second, and then between newsfeed and video feeds, honestly, it's up in the air. Really depends on how platforms like Facebook and Instagram want to reformat their newsfeed. If they want to go, all the way off the deep end, I could easily see our standard newsfeed as we see it today be at the very bottom of that, and video feeds actually take the cake. Now, if they do a little bit more of a subtle transition, I still will see newsfeed being pretty popular just because I could see them integrating Reels into that rather than having it as a separate piece of the platform. But again, time will tell what really happens, but what we can all agree on in the marketing space is that short form video, Reels and stories specifically, are going to be where everyone's eyes are going to be at. That's where Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, that's where they're going to want eyes to be at. So they're going to do anything in their power to push that forward. So why is this happening, and how does it affect your business? As I said before, short form videos are absolutely taking over the marketplace. They're addicting, they are helpful, they're quick, they're simple. And because of this, they often inspire action from the viewers. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone here has probably seen a video that's no longer than 8 seconds, and you want to learn more, whether it's a specific product, whether it's a brand or an initiative. They're very enticing for someone to click on to either open up a lead form or go into a different website to learn more about exactly what they just saw. And like I said, at the end of the day, they were extremely helpful. We're seeing a lot of, you could say, influencers and other marketers use these platforms to provide tips and tricks to further promote their brand by providing that free content rather than going on newsfeed, providing a 2-minute video. They might still take that 2-minute video, but now they can slice it up 5 different ways. And now they have more content and it's more relevant content that people actually want to look at. As I said earlier, Facebook is promoting Reels. Anytime Facebook says they are going to push something, you can be pretty sure everyone's going to want to listen. As big as other platforms like Snapchat and TikTok and how trendy they may be at times, Facebook is still the titan in the space, and they're still the #1 social media platform for marketing. Obviously, Instagram can be tied into that because they are now essentially the same thing nowadays since they are owned by Meta. So anytime that Facebook is making such a huge shift, we want to make sure we're on the edge of that shift and that we're doing what we can to prepare for when they do open up marketing for their Reels feature and start promoting stories more. Now, with this being said, the content needs to be tailored for those specific placements. The content you put on newsfeed is not going to be the same ones that you put on a reel or a story, just because the point of emphasis is different, right? In a newsfeed, I can actually show, we'll go back here. So in the newsfeed, you have your standard, you have a video or your picture, you have your 2 lines, you call it the headline, the micro copy, however you want to say it. And then you have your little caption down here. So that's something we're all used to seeing. We see it every day. We see it all the time as marketers. We still heavily use it. And then you go over to the stories. Now, stories came out a little bit longer ago than Reels, so they have started marketing on it. And in the past, this setup was fine. You still had your picture or your video. You're looking at your 2 lines of copy down here. Instagram's cool. They try to match the background as much as they can if it can't take up the full video. And then you have your call to action here. Now, where things are going, and while we don't want to adjust to it, is this vertical video here. So as you can see, this is a still picture of an actual boomerang, but there's nothing there. There's no type of context. There's no type of information. All you see is get offer. So it's pretty safe to say a lot of people saw this ad and was like, well, I don't know what offer I'm getting. So we're just going to go ahead and move past that and move on to the next ad or the next story. Now, how do we fix this? How do we prepare for this next wave of these vertical short form videos, and what can we do about it? So as you see, it does require a little bit more creativity. So you're looking at assets here, still that same vertical image or video. You have it taking up all the space, so it doesn't try to match the background of it. But now we're adding something different. So this is one of our assets. We have this cool feature where it looks like a text message and the text pops up or the bubble pops up. And it's just, a cool, funny way to go about marketing rather than, just a straightforward, hey, claim your free class. And then you have your call to action that will also, you don't see it here, but once this video goes through, this call to action actually gets moved up to the middle here. So now it's center focus. Now, with that being said, as great as these ideas are, there are times where just being straight, simple, and to the point is what works. So you have the boom here. I am seeing my little screen here being messed up by the chat feature. So let me change that. But now you have your video here, the vertical video taking up all the space. But now you have the offer right in front, right? Again, sometimes people just want to know what they're getting. What is the point of seeing this ad? I love the cool features, but let's get straight to the point, understand what I'm clicking for. So you have your straight up offer in the video, then you have get offer again. This would move up to the middle, so that's center focus. And then another just creative idea, a different way to attract people's attention is really neat, something our creative department came up with, and they're geniuses for it. Just the surprising Pilates benefits. So a quick, simple, it has this little search bar, which is great to see. And then it pops up with how can Pilates actually benefit you? How can it help your body? How can it help your fitness? Again, providing free content is one of the best ways for essentially producing a client, because if they feel you're giving something free, they don't really feel that pressure of, oh, hey, this is scammy, this is sleazy, whatever the case is. And then they also want to reciprocate, that gratitude of they gave me something free, I can at least hear them out. So these are just a couple of, honestly, hundreds of different ways that you can get ready for kind of this new wave of marketing or organic strategy. Again, it'll take a little bit more time creatively, understanding how do we get these overlays in there? But that is something that we're always working on. We're always trying to look to see how can we produce better ads, better creative assets, and really make sure that we're maximizing results for you. Before I do pass it off to Sai to speak with Ron about his journey, last things I do want to say is just Reels and Stories are still a very fairly new marketing product in this space. Stories been around for a little bit, as you can see, we do market to them, but Reels as of right now, there is no marketing whatsoever. You can't put ads on them in terms of Facebook and Instagram. TikTok, they just opened that up, but really that technology is still catching up. And as that technology continues to progress and advance and meet the needs of the franchisees, we will strive to stay ahead and make sure that we maximize results so that your business is healthy and profitable and thriving, and we can continue our relationship together. So with that being said, I will love to pass it off to Sai.
Hi, Brandon. Thanks so much. Just want to take a moment first to thank Ron for joining us today, sharing some time so that we can all learn and grow and benefit from your journey, your experiences, and everything you've learned along the way.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Sai.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of get the ball rolling and to help everybody learn a little bit more about you, if you can start by just sharing a little bit more about your background with us, pre-YogaSix.
Yeah, sure. It's funny. It's actually pre and coexisting with YogaSix. Like I'm sure a lot of the other owners who may still have their other professions. I have a sales and marketing background. We sell technology for the automation, robotics. So I sell cameras and related peripherals. Companies doing inspection and want to automate it. And we've been doing that for about 30 years. And about 3 years ago, my wife and I, Bonnie, decided to maybe down the road get into franchising, and we both kind of like fitness, and then it's just a matter of looking at all the different concepts. At the end of the day, we really liked yoga and YogaSix, and Exponential Fitness being behind that was a big part of it. I know a lot of the other brands are part of this call, and just their support and their ability to know how to franchise. So that's kind of the short of it. Of where we came from.
So you mentioned that you started, oh, I don't know if there's an audio there. Okay. So you mentioned you just started to explore or toy around with the idea of potentially getting into a franchise. What further propelled that thought and actually got you to opt in?
Sure. Yeah. So we, as I mentioned, when we decided we liked the idea of something fitness related, and I don't know if other franchisees on the call had the similar experience of working with a franchise consultant, and all of a sudden we found out that this was a free service, and they're kind of all about helping us as clients, being a match to whatever is the best fit. So we looked at a bunch of different concepts, and there's a lot of ones out there I see right now that they look like they're thriving. At the end, we liked yoga. We liked that it had been around for so long. It wasn't going anywhere. Once we got to meet some of the people behind out at corporate, I mean, that sometimes is kind of the final thing that makes us want to go ahead. It's not something we plan to jump into so fast. We probably looked at it more as a 5+ year plan for the future, but we decided to go for it. And I think we've been open about 16 months now.
So you got bit by the franchise bug. I like it. And it's actually funny that the support that Expo offers, YogaSix, the other concepts the corporate teams offer is a sentiment that I think a lot of franchisees share. The support you get, the proven processes, kind of just like the timeline, and falling under that umbrella is a significant differentiating factor with a lot of other franchisees, and oftentimes kind of the spur impetus to get, entrepreneurs like you to opt in and continue down that road. But oftentimes, we know life happens, and so do unexpected obstacles. So can you share a little bit more with us about the challenges you may have found yourself up against and how you overcame or confronted them?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the most obvious is the whole challenge of COVID and what that's presented. I mean, we opened in December of 2020. we were basically, getting close to lockdown, if not already there. People, a lot of, they're wondering what's going to go on. And I would say for that time we opened up until, I don't know, maybe even a year from then in December 2021, I felt like maybe I was realistically targeting about half the population who was willing to go into a fitness studio. So obviously, and there's a lot of others that have probably sympathized the same thing, that just we're not able to market to everybody out there, because there's so many with health concerns and lack of a vaccination that just weren't willing to go in a studio. And a lot of them, and I give a lot of studios credit for doing this and pivoting towards virtual, which we really wanted to concentrate on the in-studio experience, and we thought just having to have that whole bit with take on the virtual would probably been a little bit too much for us, but that was just our take on it. But for those that did, it was certainly a way to kind of keep some sort of revenue stream going. But we just decided to focus on the in-studio experience. So what that translated to was maybe limited capacity of only 7-9 mats, I think, on a studio that was designed for 32. So that's a challenge. I mean, all of a sudden I have short amount of class capacity. And what do we do to combat that? Well, we probably add more classes, which is what we did. So the model became a little flipped, whereas instead of adding classes as we grow our membership base, we were adding classes before that, which obviously drives payroll and other operating costs a little upside down. So that's probably been the biggest challenge that we've had to overcome. And it's basically made us a year, if not more, kind of maybe behind schedule from what we believe it probably otherwise would have been.
Yeah, you touched on a couple of things there, namely COVID. That's a huge challenge that I'm sure a lot of us, whether it be personally, professionally, or owning a business, we were all presented with. I mean, I don't know how many times we've heard this over the last 2 years, but they really were unprecedented times. And, there was no timeline for resolution or really any answers of any sort. Something you've actually shared with me on the past, just in our previous calls that we've had, is that you're actually and correct me if I'm wrong here, the only YogaSix in the Massachusetts area. So perhaps even brand recognition kind of came into play there also. Can you share with us a little bit more about that and maybe what you did to overcome that?
Sure, yeah, and that's definitely probably a close second for us. And we are the only open studio in Massachusetts. And again, other franchisees on the call probably have something similar, or just trying to battle brand recognition. So often when we're out locally, or if I'm out having dinner with my wife on a weekend and you're sitting there and you talk to the people next to you, if you're having dinner at a bar or something, and I always wanted the conversation to come eventually to maybe getting a chance to talk about YogaSix. And a lot of times you get that blank stare because they don't know who we are. They don't know that we're part of this big family of exponential fitness brands. And so you mentioned the Club Pilates and Pure Barre and Cycle Bar, these other more well-known, more established brands. So that's been a little bit of a battle, and there's nothing that I'd probably like more, at least for help our brand awareness, than to have at least a few others here in Massachusetts, and we're getting there. There's one maybe about 45 minutes close by that's trying to finish a lease on a property. So, but getting that out there, and you just have to do more. You have to do more, especially the marketing. I mean, I'll bring you and Franchise Ramp into this, and that's where we rely on the digital marketing to kind of help drive awareness and who we are. And I mean, I can't tell how many people that we've talked to over the past year and a half that we would be within a mile or two of their home. And when you eventually get a chance to take who we are, they didn't even know we were at this busy retail center. And, and those are things that we just have to figure out how to do better, so they do know we're there. But the digital marketing is a big part of it. And of course, the grassroots that's supposed to go hand in hand, and that we're starting to get opened up more, especially with the weather turning and people coming out of the COVID restrictions. So that's been a big part of it.
Now that you've encountered those challenges and really for the most part overcame them, I think for the most part, the COVID lockdown has officially been lifted. You know, there's growing brand awareness in your market. So since you've overcome those challenges and faced them head on, what would you say the biggest takeaways would be for other franchisees that might be on this call that might be facing a similar situation? Like if you had the opportunity to sit down with Ron circa 2020, what would you share with him?
Yeah, sure. I think, I understand there's probably people in various stages of their, whether they're in pre-sale, whether they're a less than 2-year business. But I mean, if you have the chance and you're in pre-sale, try to get out of the gate as fast as you can. I mean, that for us has probably been, if I could do over again and find some way to open with 200 members instead of 100 members. And we see studios now and other YogaSix territories that are opening with 300 members. We just reached 300 members in February, so to already get that out of the gate, and now you're operating in such a better position of strength. And, there's the whole financial part of it where you're cash flow positive so much faster, if not already. So those are the big things. It's just trying to do what you can to get out of the gate. Now, how do you do that? I mean, it's doing all the things. It's doing all the things that the exponential fitness is asking you to do. It's, having your GM do all the daily tasks and do your grassroots and get out there with your table events and try to get awareness. And obviously you're selling, if you're in pre-sale, there's no studio yet. There's no place to walk into probably to see and take a class. So you have to, a lot of it sometimes is on the price and that discount, but getting out of the gate fast is probably one of the biggies for us, at least my recommendation.
Wow, that was great advice, and I think propels people throughout pre-sale and all the way into soft opened. Ron, again, thank you so much for taking the time to share your insight, your wisdom, your knowledge, your journey with us. It's hugely valuable, not only to myself but everyone on this call today. And with that, I will pass it back over to Brandon.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sign Ron. That was absolutely amazing. Please message us in the chat or in the Q&A if you do have any questions regarding anything we talked about today. We'll give people a couple of seconds here to ask any questions they may have.
Brandon, I have a quick question for you. I'm sorry, I know I've done a lot of talking, but when you were talking about the reels, are these things that franchise ramp will help kind of push the direction of as those become maybe mainstream or at some point utilized in our digital marketing?
Yes, definitely. So really the point right now is to test as much as we can with stories, just because reels are not available for paid marketing yet. So we're testing all kinds of new creative with different overlays and different videos, testimonials, really to see what is working there. Because if we can get it to work in stories, that gives us a good starting point when reels do open up for paid marketing. But it's definitely on the forefront of our mind on a daily basis, because this is really where marketing is going, is those short form videos. Copy is going to matter less and less as that becomes more mainstream. So we'll continuously work with franchisees to make sure we're producing the best content possible. Awesome. So it looks like we also have a couple of questions. So Robin, do you have any early recommendations on what you're seeing? So I'm assuming that we're talking about Reels specifically and how we can start getting ready for that. So biggest piece is going to be in terms of organic reach, because that's largely where we're at in the Reels process. So first off is going to be consistency. Make sure you are posting as much as you can, and have some type of schedule, whether it's 3 times a week, 4 times a week, maybe you're posting every single day, multiple times a day, whatever works for you. Make sure we have that consistency. For Reels, for Instagram and Facebook, as well as TikTok and Snapchat, really use what they call the sound feature. So, there's a lot of the trends. If you were to go on and scroll for, 5-10 minutes, you'll probably start seeing a pretty consistent basis of the same type of music or same type of sound being used. So really understand and take advantage of those. Because if you're seeing 3-4 videos with that sound, chances are you're right in the middle of a trend. So that's something you can definitely capitalize. And biggest thing, if anyone follows Gary Vee, this is something he talks about a lot, is document what's going on in your studio in your process. If you don't have the time to be creative and come up with overlays and text and putting stuff in the video, just document what's going on. Document a class. Document what people are saying about your studio. If one of your trainers has asked a question, document someone answering it. Because if one person asks it, chances are there's plenty of others either within your market or just in the online space in general that are going to have that same question for you. So those would be my 3 top recommendations of starting with this early kind of craze and early trend, so that when the marketing piece of it does become available, you already have that foundation to make sure we're capitalizing off of that. And then it looks like Mark did ask, so recommendation for number of organic reels per week. Biggest thing is going to be what you can fit into your schedule. And as I said earlier, making sure we are consistent with it. I always say if you can do at least 3 a week to start, that's a great starting place. Now, again, if that's not possible or feasible for you right now, then go down to 2, go down to 1. Maybe you only post on Friday, but as time progresses, the people watching your page will understand, okay, every Friday I can expect something new. Or maybe you want to do an update every Thursday or workout Wednesday, whatever works with your schedule. But the biggest piece of it will be just that consistency that comes along. All right, so it looks like that will be it for questions today. If you do have any questions that ever come up, always feel free to email your FSM. We love talking with all of you, and we'll always be here to answer any questions that you may have. Again, Ron, thank you for joining us today. The monthly ramp ups goal is to give everyone a coherent picture of what's happening at the intersection of marketing and franchising. We want this to be a tight-knit community for franchisees to share knowledge and gain insight. We already can't wait to see you next time, and we look forward to working with you to achieve your entrepreneurial dreams. Please come back and join us again. Thank you.